The violence prompted Ukraine's prime minister to call on the UN Security Council to hold an emergency session. With the national elections just days away, Kiev hopes to push for a plan to decentralize power in the east. They say it will give people more control over their destiny. CCTV's Roee Ruttenberg spoke to Ukraine's deputy prime minister, and he asked him, why now?
I agree that this decision may be a little bit late, but we have to make it immediately. Not because of the issues in the east or the west. These decisions will allow Ukraine to develop and become a successful European country.
There are some that have called for even greater decentralization than what you're advocating, to bring Ukraine from a republic to a federal system. By some, of course, I include Russia. Do you think this will appeal to Moscow, this plan that you've proposed?
The things that we are proposing shouldn't fulfill any kind of Russian dreams, thoughts, or demands. But we have to create such a system in which each Ukrainian will have all of the means to affect the government. That's what's important.
You've got people in 3 regions basically telling the government that they don't want their authority. Crimea, in Luhansk, in Donetsk. Do you think that your efforts, that your plan will appeal to those people?
It's obvious that when we are talking about fighters, about terrorists, about groups which are working against peace and are committing terrorism and manslaughter, that we won't be able to provide them with any kind of argument. The only approach there is to hold them responsible according to Ukrainian law.
You may not agree with their actions, but do you at least, can you understand their positions, their frustration with 20 years of central rule in Kiev with not recognizing the current government?
Considering the actions which have taken place during those 20 years, especially in recent years, the pressure and neglect towards people's opinions, their ideas, their right to choose, their freedom, all of those things brought about a justified disobedience by those people against the actions that targeted them. But basically, it was a question of people's dignity.
And of course, we can't ignore the presidential elections coming up on Sunday. Decentralization requires, by definition, a weaker president. Do you think the elections, the next president, will have any effect on that?
I'm sure that this shouldn't affect the process of decentralization. This problem is so obvious that standing in the way of it wouldn't make any sense. It's quite the opposite. It has to be supported.
One of the demands of the East and also of Russia was that this government evict the protesters here in Kiev's central square, the Maidan. They've been here urging reforms to government. At what point does your government say to them, we've done enough reforms, you need to leave?
It's hard for me to answer about a period of time which is needed for people to go back to their homes. But I can at least say this, that it's not for some other country to say where Ukrainians have to be. And in this regard, I believe we are all in agreement in this country. The best answer we have is for Ukraine to be a successful country with a high quality of life. That's what we have to concentrate on today.